The first product I'm going to talk about is the Siempre Plata, which is their silver tequila. So here's what the bottle looks like. It's got this beautiful label. You can see some of the label art on this side, and then on the other side, it has some very nice production transparency, which I absolutely love. I definitely prefer the shorter tequila bottles, and I absolutely love the packaging for Siempre Tequila. They have these really beautiful labels, and then the bottles are this kind of heavy, kind of hand-blown glass aesthetic that looks really, really premium and fits perfect with the brand's aesthetic. I did a write-up on the full Siempre portfolio for my website, and I'll link that down below, but I'm just going to read the bit I wrote about the Siempre Plata. The Plata label is double distilled in copper pot stills at the Feliciano Vivianico de Sociedades distillery, which is NOM 1414, in Arandas, Jalisco, from 100% blue Weber agave sourced from the Los Altos region. The agave is cooked in stone and brick ovens, crushed using a roller mill, and open air fermented using a rum and champagne yeast strain. The brand also has a unique fermentation process called the Mozart method, where they play classical music to the yeast during fermentation. And then in my previous video, I kind of threw out the question, does the brand only play Mozart for the fermenting yeast, or do they mix it up and play different classical music? This is where I actually got a YouTube comment from the brand's founder, Alex LaCroix, which is super cool. And he responded, they play mostly Mozart, but there are a few other classical songs in the playlist. So shout out, Alex. Thanks again for the comment. The water source used comes from a deep well, and the final product is bottled unaged at 80 proof or 40% ABV and is verified additive-free by Tequila Matchmaker. Co-founder Monica Sinita wanted the Plata to be carefully balanced, soft enough for newcomers, yet complex enough for enthusiasts. I talked extensively about the organization Tequila Matchmaker in my last Siempre video because I did want to highlight the verified additive-free component of the brand. There's been a bit of controversy around Tequila Matchmaker. I'm just going to completely avoid talking any further about Tequila Matchmaker. Siempre, they do things the right way, and they do not add any additives to any of their tequilas, whether the aged or unaged expressions. So you can know, regardless of your feelings about Tequila Matchmaker, this is a brand with integrity. This is a brand that does things the right way, does things the traditional way, and does not add, flavor enhancers or color enhancers to their products. And before I get into the official tasting notes from the brand, I want to read through the brand's official write-up for this particular product. Discover Siempre Plata, created by master distiller Sergio Cruz, grown on the Vivianico family estate farms. This tequila showcases the unique terroir of Jalisco. The Mozart method of fermentation in a blend of rum and champagne yeast achieve a balanced flavor that combines highland and lowland characteristics. Siempre Plata is an exceptional tequila that appeals to both the enthusiast and newcomer, embodying the artistry and complexity of the craft. To be conscious of the environment, Siempre's bottles are made of 100% recycled glass. Labels are made of agave and hemp fibers, and closures are 100% cork, a completely renewable resource. Best of all, the materials are sourced within 100 kilometers of their distillery. That's really cool, and I really appreciate when brands are transparent, not just about their production methods, but also the environmental impact of production. And, a lot of brands in the wine and spirit space make very positive, eco-conscious decisions about their products. Some do a better job of marketing it, some don't. Some brands it is a little more greenwashing, and some it's a little more authentic, so that's really cool. I didn't know that the last time I filmed a video about Siempre. All right, enough talking about it. Let's try it. I have a brand new bottle right here. We already know this is unaged, so completely clear, or what they would call water white. Here's the official tasting notes from the brand. Complex aromas and flavors of spice, herb and pepper, brine and sea salt, citrus with candied floral notes, and hints of cooked agave and sweet fruit. All right, let's give this a smell. Oh, that's got a beautiful nose. Good tequila can have such a powerful nose, and this is spot on. Ooh, I'm not exaggerating. This is one of those kind of aromas that you smell it and you just immediately want to taste it. I would say that that's got good complexity on the nose, you know? With tequila, you're always looking for this kind of balance with, the raw material, the agave, as well as the production method, the roasting of the agave, the fermentation, the particular yeast strain and the way it affects fermentation, and then finally distillation. And you want this complex nose, and even more importantly, complex palate that reflects the different flavors that evolve during that production process from raw material to finished product. And the beautiful thing about tequila is it is made from one thing. We talk a lot about bourbon on this channel. Bourbon uses a mash bill. It uses typically 3, sometimes 4 different grains combined together with a yeast strain to create a recipe, to create one flavor profile. But with tequila, it's just agave. If you're sourcing good agave from an interesting terroir or a very specific growing region, and that agave is fully mature and ripe, that will be reflected in the final product, versus if you're sourcing a ton of agave that's underripe from huge different and diverse geographic areas, then you might have to cover that up with some additives to make up for it. So from everything I know about Siempre and studying the brand, they do things the right way. They're sourcing really high quality agave from very specific regions. And so, I haven't even tasted this product, and I'm already like so excited to taste it and then talk about it. We talked about complex aromas of flavors and spice, herbs and pepper, brine and sea salt, citrus with candied nose and floral notes, and hints of cooked agave and sweet fruit. So let's give it a try, and I'm going to do 2 sips. I haven't had any spirits on my palate today, so first sip is going to be kind of acclimating my palate. Second sip, I'll hopefully be able to pick up a lot more complexity. So first sip, already starting to pick up on some different flavors. Definitely getting that kind of cooked agave sweet fruit, but there's this floral element to it as well. On that first sip, I'm not getting a big kind of herbaceous, peppery flavor. You sometimes get that with agave, where it gives it this kind of herbaceous pepperiness. Everything's a spectrum, right? So it's like sometimes, the agave flavors fall more on that roasted, kind of natural sweet flavor side of the spectrum, and then other times it's that kind of really herbal, herbaceous, peppery side. And then sometimes, it does a good job of falling in the middle. I find myself definitely not enjoying as much the really herbaceous, peppery side of the agave, versus this is a little more roasted sweetness to it. And I'm afraid to say the word sweet because I don't want anyone to think there's added sugar in this. But when you roast the raw material of agave, you are cooking the sugars, and then you're eventually converting those sugars into alcohol. So that will eventually be reflected in the final flavor profile. So I'm going to revisit this on a second sip. Oh yeah, ton more flavor on that second sip. Definitely getting more pepper. There's that pepper and that spice that they were talking about. But brine and sea salt, I don't know if I'm quite getting that. Definitely citrus and floral. And again, I know they're sourcing from Los Altos, and there's a big debate on the different flavor profiles that come from agave sourced exclusively from El Valle, which is oftentimes anglicized as the lowlands, and then Los Altos, which is often anglicized as the highlands. Jalisco, which is the primary state that most commercial tequila available in the U.S. is produced, has a lot of elevation. So I try to avoid calling any part of Jalisco the highlands or the lowlands because there is a lot of elevation, but I'll stick to the Spanish terms, Los Altos and El Valle. And, there's a lot of debate between the different flavor profiles. I know they're sourcing for Los Altos, and so to get that kind of floral and citrus component, I think, is really prominent in this. And again, there's no barrel on this, unlike brands like Herradura that put their silver under a little bit of barrel, at least here in the United States. This is just highlighting the agave. I think it does a really beautiful job of doing that. It has this super clean finish. Really clean finish. It's not boozy at all in that second sip. The flavors are really well integrated. There's good complexity. Everything kind of balances each other out, plays in harmony, plays nice together. Most important thing, very enjoyable to drink. I mean, you could drink this, a little bit of soda, a little bit of lime. Obviously this would be a fantastic margarita. This would make an incredible wide variety of tequila cocktails, ranch waters, tequila soda, and lime. I think this would be incredible. I mean, even just by itself. Very clean finish, good complexity, very enjoyable to drink. And I think it does a beautiful job of just highlighting the raw material, the agave, and highlighting the production process. Another brand that I really enjoy is Lalo. And Lalo's a Blanco only tequila, and the brand's ethos is they want to honor the agave and highlight the agave without hiding those flavors with barrels or any additives. I think this is a great example of Siempre doing the same thing, right? You're honoring the agave, you're honoring the kind of high quality production process, and you're creating a product that is very enjoyable to drink, especially for people that drink a lot of agave spirits and know their agave spirits really well. I think you'll really, really like this. So now that I've rambled on a bit, let's talk about pricing. I'm based here in Tulsa, Oklahoma, so I'm going to be quoting average retail price for my home market of Oklahoma, but please check your local liquor stores for pricing because every single market is different pricing. So in my home market, the Plata, it will retail somewhere between, let's call it $38 and $41. So do I think this is worth, call it $38 to $41? I definitely do. I think at this price point, the tequila category has absolutely exploded. There's a ton of incredible options at every single price point. I think consumers have earned the right to be extremely picky about where they spend their money in these big categories, like tequila and like bourbon. So $38 to $41, ton of incredible options at that price point. I think Siempre very much earns its spot in that price point. And I definitely think this product is worth the money. And I think if you spent, call it $40 on this bottle, you would absolutely not be disappointed, especially if you want that kind of pure, enjoyable agave flavor. Thank you so much for watching. If you are enjoying this content but don't care about the video component of these tastings, then I highly recommend you check out my podcast. It's just the audio component for these tastings and brand educations. You can find it on Spotify. You can find it on Apple Podcasts. You can find it any platform that you listen to your podcast. If you're watching this on YouTube, leave me a comment. Let me know if you have any feedback for the channel. Any recommendations of products or categories that you want to see on this channel. If you want to have a more in-depth conversation or if you have a more detailed question, please shoot me an email. I personally read all the emails that I receive and I do my best to respond to each and every one of them. So I'll leave my email down below in the description. Please shoot me an email if you have a more kind of detailed question that you want to talk through. If you are a spirit supplier and you're interested in seeing one of your products featured on my channel, please shoot me an email as well. I'd love to have that conversation. Finally, if you'd like to be notified whenever I have new content on my website or this YouTube channel, please consider subscribing to my email newsletter. I'll leave a link below in the description. And if you'd like to support this channel further, please consider becoming a Patreon member or gift me a cocktail through the link below in the description. I very much appreciate your support. It is this community support that is what makes this channel possible. So thank you so much again for watching. I hope you learned something. And as always, please drink responsibly.